So I think it's pretty safe to say at this point that the Walt Disney Company had its worst year throughout all of 2023 for multiple reasons. It was known as the flop era of that company, and it also so happened to land on their 100th anniversary year, and we had a lot of people calling them out. We had Elon Musk calling them out for the very first time, you know, the whole GFY toward Bob Iger, the Disney CEO, and let's not forget about everything else coming from South Park Studios, creating a parody of Kathleen Kennedy and Bob Iger, and that was just the beginning of everything. And here we are in 2024, where there's a lot of things going on simultaneously. I mean, we have the Snow White drama, we have everything that did happen with the Acolyte series over the summer. That was another major problem for Bob Iger. But focusing on the Rachel Zegler situation, this is where things begin to escalate as Disney supporters, or those associated with the Walt Disney Company, are going through this defense mode over Snow White 25. Let's discuss. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future updates. You can also follow me at Mike01. I thank you all so very much for the great and kind support. So we all know that those out there like Joy Behar and Whoopi Goldberg are going to defend projects like Snow White 25 to no end, and they still are doing that to this very day. Now we know at the same exact time those attached to The View are run by ABC. What is, of course, ABC? That is an actual Disney program, and it's all instructed by the Walt Disney Company. Not a big shocker. Now, what's interesting about this is the fact that we know that Bob Iger is using those out there like Jimmy Kimmel, the hosts of Good Morning America, Kelly and Mark as well, and let's not forget about Joy and Whoopi really trying to make this movie into a successful marketing campaign. Now, with Disney CEO Bob Iger fully engaged in damage control over multiple failed properties and brands, one serious development going on now has more to do with Whoopi Goldberg of The View going through yet another rant toward the general public over the backlash toward Rachel Zegler. Now, Goldberg delivered the following. Now, I want to get started with Rachel Zegler because all of this outrage toward this innocent actress is just appalling and offensive, and is the biggest issue we have in this industry right now that divides more people every day. It's these very same people that like to create false narratives that Rachel is part of some kind of campaign for the Walt Disney Company to protect some kind of an agenda, and I always hate hearing that word, agenda. Nobody truly knows what that even means. Rachel is a work of art as an actress, and she was born for the role of Snow White, and if you don't like it, then I think those very same fans, or whoever you want to call them, can just deal with it and be quiet already. Fans and critics going through this so-called boycott over this film is so childish and trivial behavior that I don't even know what to think about society anymore. I mean, it truly is a bizarre and upside-down world at this point, where you have critics about a Disney princess coming from different ethnic backgrounds, and a film that finally separates itself from past source material to embrace something new and for a new generation. Look, when I first heard and saw the criticism for Snow White and Rachel, my jaw just dropped that these are the complaints now coming from families, because Snow White's backstory changed and the meaning of her name has nothing to do with her appearance anymore. It's all just a part of their narrative and what they don't like. Some people in this world only like characters to look or do things in a certain way in films that they actually grew up with. And when there is one little minor change, everything falls like dominoes. I mean, that's the greatest issue that we have right now in the film industry, are those that reject DEI and blame quote-unquote DEI hires for ruining films and television. It's the lamest scapegoat I have ever seen in my career, both as an actress and as a television host. Now guys, let me just say one thing here about what Whoopi Goldberg is doing. Now, number one, she obviously is fully supporting this movie, not just because she's hired by Disney, but she does support it on a personal level. This is just who Whoopi Goldberg is. This is exactly why they are hired by Disney in the first place, because they believe in every word that they say and what they are told to say on television. Now, we know at the same exact time that Whoopi Goldberg is going to really try to make the marketing campaign of Snow White at a top level. Alright, they want to make sure that this movie is going to be talked about for the next 6 months or so, give or take, right around there, to really make it a successful project by Bob Iger. Now, look, You could talk about it all you want. You can sugarcoat this movie all you want. It's never gonna work because a lot of people are growing up and really beginning to wake up about what the Disney company is truly all about nowadays. Not only are they run and funded by the top 3 shareholders, BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street, and yes, it needs to be said, they are all about DEI and ESG scores, alright? These are the same exact organizations that fund Bob Iger and the board of directors about all these projects embracing DEI. But this is where it gets interesting, alright? Let's continue. Mr. Iger said it best, that their support for DEI is a way to gravitate toward a large audience, she says, and I agree with him fully on all of that. I support everything that Rachel said in her past comments about the prince and her view on how romance should be handled in an effective manner throughout a female empowerment-driven film like this. I think that she needs our endorsement, and I discussed this over with Joy and Sunny, and they both wildly agree with myself. I think that these same critics are going to melt like the witch from Wizard of Oz when they see Snow White is going to be one of the most successful and innovative films by Disney to really reach out to those that come from different ethnic backgrounds. The critics are only here to create false narratives. That's their only purpose in life at this point, and we all know what side they come from. Okay, so obviously she has a personal issue with the critics over Snow White 2025, critics of the Walt Disney Company still engaging in their typical messaging, their typical ideology, and their typical agenda that they quite frankly don't want to let go from. They can convince you all they like. They could say all the things like, oh, we're quieting down the noise, or, oh, look, we have one successful movie here or there, that shifted away from the Disney messaging. Well, we talked about this too, guys. This is basically a strategy by Bob Iger to have one little outlier, one little example, or one success story that shifts away from DEI to trick people into believing that Disney is shifting away from that agenda. And it's not to be trusted as far as I'm concerned, because we know that there's quite a number of things that have released throughout this year, and other things that are about to be released in the rest of the 2020s. Particularly Disney live-action remakes, even beyond Snow White. So overall, Whoopi Goldberg being a part of The View, you really can't take anything that she says seriously. You really can't take anything that comes from anybody on that show, whether it's Joy, Sunny, whoever. You really can't take any of them seriously. Who in the world even watches The View? And look, this is ABC, alright? This is no different than the many programs that are on that program, basically driven by Walt Disney as a company and by Bob Iger and what they're trying to do. This is basically their marketing campaign. They're going to have a lot of television hosts really kind of propping this movie up as much as possible, and how the critics are terrible people, and how the people that are just not saying a thing about this movie are the ones that are going to make this movie successful. Overall, guys, I would like to hear what you all have to say about this below in the comments, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys later.